Hello, it's Fountain here. Today I want to talk about supposed governments expanding their supposed powers. Now, obviously, the story of supposed governments extending their supposed powers is nothing new, and obviously that's more evident in certain places and certain supposed time frames around the world. And I'm not going to be providing some sort of history on government or human created law here in this vlog. I just want to sort of get straight into it, and having a legal background myself, it's become obviously quite evident I guess the increasing actions of the supposed governments and in certain places in the world, and within the last 2 years obviously trying to expand their supposed powers. And I'm not going to go into details, obviously, of this, because that would be a lot to cover, even if we were just to focus on one supposed nation. Now, I just wanted to share some recent events. I'm residing in Australia at the moment as I'm recording this, and there's a state called Victoria, whereby the supposed government intends to grant itself basically extraordinary powers, quotation marks there, to rule the state without proper parliamentary sort of oversight and checks and balances that we, I guess, would usually have seen within the last, 150 years or whatever, that this sort of supposed modern day parliamentary system sort of works, right? And I guess under the legislation, if you were to try and look at it as objectively as possible, or you can look at it through a subjective lens, of course you're welcome to, it would potentially give the supposed government obviously sweeping powers to enforce public health orders and declare, pandemics. But it would also grant, I guess, the Victorian government an unlimited power to rule the state by decree and on a long-term basis. And, if you've got a particular interest, obviously, within like constitutional law or areas of law that obviously overlap and sort of integrate with that, that may cause some concern, not only just for yourself, but obviously particular organisations, particular bodies, and for communities. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's actually brought so much attention to the legal industry in Victoria that there's been at least 60 Queen's Council and Victorian Bar Association, I guess, officials, people, whatever you want to call them, professionals, that have signed a letter obviously opposing this new proposed legislation. And I can leave a link to a lawyer's article down below, of course, discussing that some more. And what's to come from that, well, who knows, right? Like, it's also become quite evident that certain professionals in certain industries, the legal industry included, have lost their license to practice. And obviously this doesn't just apply to the legal industry. There's other industries as well, where obviously they have come out and spoken up against certain, I guess, political interests, and that hasn't always come with a very good, repercussion for themselves personally. Sometimes it means losing a license. Often at this stage, it's usually because their conduct has been considered quite extraordinarily outside what, I guess, the profession would consider as acceptable. Now, I know there's one solicitor in New South Wales who recently lost their practicing license for this current practicing year due to various things, but there was some, I guess, potential lines that were crossed in the sense of the way that they were communicating publicly, through social media. There is obviously a way to go about actually voicing some concerns that one may have, or a group of people may have, and obviously there'll always be some kind of supposed professional standard to do so. So, yeah, always always good to bear that in mind. But as someone who sits within the legal industry, I'm well aware that sometimes if you're too loud about certain things, it can really put your potential reputation from a number of different groups of people, obviously, in jeopardy, as I could say politely, in a sense. And obviously, what's to come from this letter? Who knows? Legislation may still pass. It may not. It may be reconsidered. It may be amended. Only potential time can really tell with that. And I guess it's just one way that when people see potential injustices going on within their community, or I guess more at large, or even personally within their own lives, that's just one way that you can obviously potentially try to use your freedom of speech and the other supposed freedoms that we have, especially when you see potential injustice occurring. And I guess the question is, well, how can you help? What do you need to do? And I can't really tell you what you need to do, because that is such a individual sort of basis. It's such a personal thing. For some people, it's a matter of, I'm just going to create a community and plant a garden, and grow my own food. That's my form of, just being more sovereign in my life and being able to create the justices that I want to see. That's obviously one example, but another example is obviously if you are within some kind of body or profession. I use the term profession a bit lightly there. Then obviously you can use that as a way, if that feels right for you, to I guess do something about it, in the sense of voicing what you may see as injustices. And obviously those examples could be considered quite extreme of a polarity, but I guess that's just an opportunity for me to show you that there is a myriad of ways in which you can obviously live your life, which can show others and lead a way that may encourage them. Well, it's not necessarily about trying to change people. I'm sure some of you are aware of that doesn't always necessarily work out very well, but it's just being the example of what it is that you want to see more of in the world. And that may then allow some seeds to be planted, or seeds that are already planted within others, to flourish and grow. Because when they see someone doing something that they really want to embody, well, obviously the more that they see that, the more the courage that they have to be able to step in and lead that way. So yeah, that was basically what I wanted to say in a nutshell. Is, if you are interested in your government, in your supposed governments, whether that be right down to the local government all the way up to a supposed nation, you could have a little look around, and you will find that there's been obviously some overextending of powers within, especially the last 2 years, within only certain nations. I cannot speak for all here, because as we know, everything is being dealt with in a slightly different way. And you will obviously find some very interesting things there, and curious if obviously you have noticed some of these things already. Excuse me if you just hear the kids playing upstairs. And if not, come back later and leave me a comment on some things that you've found, and maybe some ways that you wish to help your community, I guess, move away from the supposed potential injustices that may come from those actions and supposed legislation. So yeah, I do look forward to seeing you soon, and that's all from me from now.